Welcome to Royal Daily Report, your trusted source for the truth behind the royal headlines. I'm your host, and today we're investigating a story that could change the British monarchy forever. What you're about to hear isn't gossip or speculation. It's a constitutional crisis unfolding in real time. Stay with us because this story will shock you. Prince Harry is in serious trouble. And this time it's not coming from tabloids, talk shows, or family whispers behind palace walls. This is coming from the very heart of Britain's power, Westminster. It started quietly, the kind of quiet that only happens before something historic breaks. A whisper moving through political corridors, not gossip columns. And at first, it sounded almost unbelievable. Prince Harry versus the Crown again. Another round, another headline, another family mess. Right, wrong. Because this wasn't a PR flare-up, this wasn't damage control. This was a formal move inside the House of Lords, the institution that exists to protect royal tradition, not tear it down. And now that same institution is discussing something unthinkable just a few years ago. Stripping Prince Harry of his royal title. Let that sink in. Not a slap on the wrist, not another statement from Buckingham Palace, not silence and patience, a title removal. The Duke of Sussex, the last official thread tying Harry to the monarchy, suddenly on the chopping block. And here's where the tone shifts. Because this isn't about feelings. It's about power, about legacy, about whether someone can burn every royal bridge, pack up, move across the ocean, publicly attack the institution that made them famous, and still keep the crown-branded name. That's the real question Parliament is now asking. If this story is already grabbing your attention, make sure you subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. We're bringing you the royal investigations that mainstream media won't touch. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. For years, the monarchy stayed quiet, almost painfully quiet. Interviews came and went. Accusations were aired, a memoir was released, Netflix cameras rolled, and through it all, the crown did what it always does. Nothing. Silence, restraint, tradition. But Parliament doesn't work on emotions, it works on rules. And now lawmakers are no longer watching from the sidelines. They're stepping in. Because from their point of view, this isn't a family feud anymore. It's a constitutional problem. A prince who no longer lives in Britain, no longer serves the crown, no longer follows royal rules, yet still carries a title that gives him influence, access, and authority everywhere he goes. That title opens doors in Hollywood, in politics, in business, in rooms where being just Harry wouldn't be enough. Take the title away, and everything changes. Here's where the conversation changes, and not in Harry's favor. Inside Parliament, lawmakers aren't throwing around dramatic words lightly. These are people trained to weigh language carefully. So, when a phrase like symbolic treason starts circulating, it's not meant to be flashy, it's meant to be precise. And no, this doesn't mean Harry committed a crime. It means something worse. Symbolic treason is Parliament's way of saying, you may not have broken the law, but you broke the trust. You attacked the institution that gave you legitimacy, protection, and status, and you did it while still benefiting from its name. From Parliament's perspective, that's the ultimate insult. For years, Harry publicly criticized the monarchy. He questioned its integrity. He accused it of cruelty. He described it as harmful and broken. And yet, through all of that, he continued to move through the world as the Duke of Sussex. That contradiction is the problem. Because in Britain, royal titles aren't costumes you put on when it's convenient. They're symbols of duty, of restraint, of loyalty. You don't get to tear the house down and still keep the keys. That's why MPs are no longer debating emotions. They're debating damage. Damage to the monarchy, damage to public trust, damage to the meaning of royal titles themselves. And in their eyes, Harry crossed that line a long time ago. This investigation is just getting started. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and join thousands of viewers who depend on us for the real story behind the palace walls. Now we get to the part Parliament finds truly unforgivable. The money? Because Harry didn't just walk away from royal life, he turned it into a business model. Every major deal since his exit carries the same branding. Duke and Duchess of Sussex, not just Harry, not just Meghan, not private citizens trying to live quietly. Royal titles front and center. From streaming deals to podcasts to books to public appearances, the royal connection isn't subtle, it's strategic. That title opens doors that would otherwise stay shut. It gives instant credibility, instant prestige, instant attention. Parliament has a word for this: title laundering. The idea that royal status is being washed through commercial ventures to create influence, profit, and power without any of the responsibility that normally comes with it. And here's the part that really angers lawmakers. Working royals are not allowed to profit from their titles ever. Royalty is meant to serve, not sell. But Harry and Meghan flipped that rule on its head. They stepped away from duty, kept the branding, and monetized the image. From Parliament's perspective, that's not independence, that's exploitation. And once royal titles become marketing tools, the entire system is at risk. Because if one prince can do it, what stops others? That's why this isn't personal, it's structural. If money lit the fuse, politics was the explosion. There is one rule every royal understands from birth: stay neutral. No public political positions, no endorsements, no interference. Why? Because the monarchy survives by standing above politics, not inside it. Harry broke that rule loudly. From public comments criticizing foundational principles to aligning himself with political causes. Overseas, to stepping into cultural and political debates far outside Britain, Harry didn't just speak as a private citizen, he spoke as a royal. And that's the problem, because when a titled British duke inserts himself into foreign political discourse, it creates a constitutional headache. Parliament doesn't care about his opinions, they care about the title attached to them. Lawmakers began asking an uncomfortable question. Why is a British royal title being used in political conversations outside the UK? That's where the phrase constitutional threat enters the discussion. Not because Harry is powerful enough to overthrow anything, but because precedent matters. Titles are meant to unify, not divide, to represent the state, not personal ideology. And once Parliament reached that conclusion, the direction became clear. This wasn't about punishing Harry. It was about protecting the crown from being turned into a political weapon. And at that point, the gears were already turning. We're revealing details that will shock you. Make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report so you don't miss a single development in this historic story. Just when things were already bad, something small, almost petty, made everything worse. A gift basket. Polite, decorative, seemingly harmless, until people noticed what was written on the card. With the compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, that single line landed like a match tossed onto dry leaves. Because here's the part that matters. Meghan was not supposed to be using HRH. That wasn't a suggestion. It was an agreement made directly with Queen Elizabeth herself. HRH is not a decorative title. It's reserved strictly for working royals, actively serving the crown. Harry and Meghan stepped back. That meant no duties and no HRH. So when that title appeared again, Parliament didn't see a misunderstanding. They saw defiance. Two lawmakers already questioning whether royal titles were being abused, this felt like confirmation. Proof that rules were being bent, that boundaries were being tested, that agreements with the monarchy were optional, at least in California. Inside Buckingham Palace, frustration hardened. This wasn't about etiquette anymore. It was about control. Who gets to decide what royal titles mean? The institution or the individuals who left it? That gift basket didn't just irritate people. It strengthened the case. And then came the moment that truly sealed Harry's fate. The public turned, not the tabloids, not commentators, the people. Polls began showing something startling. A clear majority of Britons wanted Harry stripped of his title. Support didn't just dip, it collapsed. Even groups once sympathetic now felt betrayed. But the most damaging blow came from Sussex itself, the very place that gives Harry his title. Residents began signing the petition in droves, saying the same thing again and again. He doesn't represent us anymore. Not Britain, not Sussex, not the crown, just himself. That's when Parliament stopped hesitating, because in Britain, titles aren't personal brands. They're meant to represent people, places, responsibility. When the people tied to that title reject you, the title becomes hollow. At that point, Parliament wasn't leading the charge. It was following the will of the public. And when public opinion and political authority align, history usually follows. This is the kind of reporting you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and stay ahead of the mainstream media on this developing story. Throughout all of this, one thing stood out more than any statement ever could. The silence? King Charles didn't rush to defend his son. He didn't issue emotional pleas. He didn't intervene publicly at all. And that silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Because if the king stepped in, it would look personal. A father punishing a child, but if Parliament acted on its own, the decision would carry the full weight of the institution. Behind the scenes, that distinction mattered. And then there was Prince William. No protest, no objections, no softening of the blow. To William, this wasn't about brotherhood. It was about preservation, protecting the crown, protecting the future monarchy, making it clear that royal titles are not shields you can hide behind while attacking the system itself. As the future king, William's position was unmistakable. This behavior would not be tolerated under his reign. This wasn't drama, it was a warning. Here's the part people don't expect. If Harry loses his title, it won't happen with fireworks. There won't be shouting. There won't be emotional speeches. It will happen quietly on paper, in ancient halls, through motions, votes, and signatures that carry centuries of authority. That's how institutions end fairy tales. Because once legitimacy is gone, nothing else matters. Not fame, not money, not storytelling. The royal mystique, the thing that made everything sparkle, disappears overnight. No Duke, no HRH, no illusion, just Harry. A man who tried to burn down the house he came from and then sell the ashes. And yet, this still isn't the end. With Prince William preparing for the crown, with Meghan's title now openly questioned, with Parliament no longer patient, the real fallout may still be ahead. Because when the crown decides you no longer represent it, you don't get the last word. The institution does, and it always speaks last. Thank you for watching this Royal Daily Report investigation. If you want to continue following this historic story as it develops, subscribe to Royal Daily Report now and turn on notifications. This has been Royal Daily Report, bringing you the investigations that matter. The story of Prince Harry's title is far from over, and we'll be here every step of the way to bring you the truth. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next report. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening inside the royal family. Until next time, this is Royal Daily Report, where we uncover the stories behind the crown.